Hey guys, welcome to Wargaming Central. Paul here. I'm here. Welcome to the new series of How Does That Work? And today we're going to be looking at the first topic of HE weapons in bolt action. I had a question on one of the YouTube comments from one of our older videos recently, and someone asked how does HE work, and I tried to explain it to them by writing and messaging, but it didn't really come across very well. And HE can be convoluted and hard to find in the bolt action rulebook. So I thought, get some models out and get some dice, and show you the exact way that this rulebook goes about describing high explosive weapons in 28mm. So I'm going to be using a couple of infantry, an artillery piece, and a tank, and a building to describe how it goes, and hopefully we should all be a bit more wiser by the end of the video. Okay, so we have three different types of units to concern ourselves in bolt action when it comes to HE, and in pretty much all shooting in general. We have the infantry unit, the artillery unit, and the vehicles or tanks. Now, HE always hits the same. Always hits the same, exactly the same as all other shooting weaponry in the game. So it'll be at least a 3, and all the modifiers such as cover or moving or shooting and whatnot apply when shooting HE. Now this is the table that we're mostly concerned about in the rulebook, and that's the HE shots table. It shows us that however shots we get, so all HE weapons have a number of dice value, and that will describe how many pins we get. So for example, a D6 howitzer will receive D2 pins, meaning you roll a dice and halve the result, and rounding up of course, and you roll a dice on 1, 2, 3 it will be a 1 pin, and 3, 4, 5, 6 it will be a second, 2 pins. And we have a penetration value, much the same as other normal weaponry, such as anti-tank guns. HE weapons have a pen value, and instead of using the normal pen values for the weapon, you come over here and use the pen values. So, for example, a 3d6 HE weapon, such as that'd be a Sturmtiger, essentially would have a +4 pen. So HE is not necessarily as good against vehicles. And it's also very good against infantry, but it can also, as you can see, do a lot of pinning damage to vehicles as it shocks the crew. Okay, so for these scenarios, we're going to assume that the HE weapons always hit. So we're going to ignore the hit because hit is always the same. So when an artillery unit shoots an infantry unit and it has a hit, we roll on the HE chart. And that will determine how many hits we get. So we know that a howitzer, a British light artillery piece, has D6, which means it's going to get 1 dice worth of shots. So as we see, if we roll a dice, I'm going to get 6. Okay, so as we saw, the 6 roll on the dice means that this howitzer has scored 6 hits as opposed to 1 usual hit against the infantry. Of course, you roll this after you rolled a hit. So what we do is we roll in 6 dice to wound against the infantry, meaning that in this scenario, if you rolled successfully in all your dice, you would kill the entire squad. It's important to note that we still apply the penetration values to infantry because that can do a lot more damage and is very good. So, for example, the D6 on the chart has a penetration value of 2, meaning that when we roll this, it's going to be +2 to the dice. So, if these are regular Japanese infantry, instead of being killed on a 4+, we wounded on a 2+. As we can see, just the 5 dice, 4 have died. And we take away any way you want, and that way we are able to realistically destroy the entire squad. And that's really the great power of HE. Now we've considered the damage, we also need to look at exactly how pins work for it. So pins work in the usual way in allocation for HE. So after you get a hit, you allocate a pin. However, when we look at the HE chart, we saw that they can be multiplied. You can have multiple pins. So, for example, a D6 howitzer has a potential for D2 pins. So roll it, and a 1, 2, 3 equals 1 pin, and a 4, 5, 6 equals 2 pins. So equal 1 pin. However, with very big artillery pieces, such as heavy howitzers, you have the potential to deal up to D6 pins and almost certainly remove the effectiveness of any squad in a game. Okay, so how does HE work against vehicles? Well, it's not nearly as powerful as vehicles because when we multiply the hits, that doesn't occur for vehicles. So, for example, we'll say that we've already hit, and for vehicles, it's only ever going to equal one hit. Even if you have a heavy howitzer that is 3d6 HE and potentially can destroy a tank easily, will only ever result in one hit. So you only use one dice to roll against the armour of a vehicle. So in this scenario, it seems like howitzers aren't very effective against vehicles. However, they do have some use. For example, the fact that they can lay on a lot more pins if they hit. So, for example, this howitzer of +2, we'll ignore the light artillery rules for the British, is not going to be able to damage the front armour of the Cromwell, which is an armour of 9, because a 9 minus 7 would equal nothing. However, with HE weapons, the multiple pins still apply even for vehicles. So, for example, even if this shot will do nothing to wreck the vehicle, it will, however, pin the crew and make the crew be less effective the next time a Cromwell is activated. So, for example, if we roll again on the pin chart, off the camera, but it ends up being a 6, which means it would cause 2 pins. The Cromwell would suffer 2 pins for being hit, as opposed to 1, which means that when you're using HE weapons, they're very effective at killing infantry and also very effective at nullifying the effectiveness of vehicles, able to deal a lot of pins if they can hit. One more thing to note is that when HE is shooting, it suffers no -1 for penetrating a vehicle on the vehicle penetration for long range, whereas normal conventional anti-tank shells tend to rely on velocity. HE tends to rely on the raw explosive power of the shell, meaning that when it hits, it's still going to be just as effective if it was shot at half the distance. So therefore, even at long range, of this light howitzer would still have a +2 penetration, despite the usual case. Whereas this Cromwell, if it was at long range, would suffer a -1, and its medium anti-tank gun would go down to a 4+. Now, all is not doom and gloom for infantry. For one hit by HE shells, they can choose to go down if they have yet to receive an order. Now, if there's an infantry squad, luckily for them, we're not talking about the dice effect before it's rolled is halved. So this D6 won't become a D3, for example, but it's after the dice is rolled. So, here we have a 4+. We've got a 4, which means it means 4 hits. This infantry squad can choose to go down, however, to make it a 2, meaning that it will be a lot less damage for them when they're hit. However, the corresponding pins and penetration values from the D6 remain for the howitzer and the HE shell. Now, HE interacts with buildings both exactly the same and a bit differently from normal weapons. For example, this howitzer is firing down the sights and not using the indirect fire ability, then the infantry is treated as being behind the cover and can only ever be hit on 6+. HE shots into buildings when fired indirectly, much like a mortar or a rocket artillery piece or a howitzer firing indirectly, have a different method of interacting with the squad inside in the building itself. How it works is after rolling to hit, and once again assume that we hit, so be it a 6 to a 2 or whatever, we then roll to see which level of the building that it lands on, being, for example, the top level, the middle level, or the ground level. So how it works is we roll dice. On a 1, 2, or 3, it will keep going through to the next floor. On a 4, 5, or 6, it will explode on this floor and only hit the troops on that level. So, we've got a 2 in this scenario, meaning that it will travel down to this middle. I might just move it just so you can see like that. So it'll move down to this middle level. So roll again. Goes down yet again. And whenever it reaches the ground level of a building, it automatically is treated as being a 4+. Additionally, when rolling against big vehicles with very, very high explosive shells, for example, a 2d6 or a 3d6 or even a 4d6 for, say, the Sturmtiger, the building has a chance to collapse. On the dice, for example, if you manage to roll 12+ hits on the dice, the building will collapse and kill the infantry inside, and you have to replace at that point you replace the building with either rubble or some sort of, as seen in this example, ruined section of a building. Now, additionally for HE shells, because they're not relying on the penetrative power of their guns, whereas buildings usually mean that infantry have a 6+ before they die, so if you need to hit them, and then 6+ to die, HE shells don't follow that rule. They simply just hit. They roll on the skill of the infantry. So, for example, that would mean that if these are veterans here, it'd be a minimum of before modifiers, it'd be a 5+, as opposed to the 6+. Additionally, this also counts with the gun shield rule for machine guns. Alright guys, that was the basics for HE weapons in bolt action. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. I think I covered it fairly well. Now if you like that, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, because I certainly might make a few more rules videos in the future. And I don't really know where to go when it comes to the rules. So if you want me to talk about a rules for you, or rules discussion or anything, put it down in the comment section and I'll get to it straight away. These things are pretty easy to make. So till then, it's Paul from Wargaming Central, and I'll see you in the next video.